Has this ever happened to you? You're on your phone and you start scrolling and you're on, like, let's say Instagram or something, and you come across a young person, a very young, very talented, very successful, let's say musician, and you're like, oh cool, a person who's done more in their 18 years than I'll ever do in my lifetime. Let's look at all their pictures and read all the comments and just flood my brain with this. You know the feeling where you're just like, damn, I'm gonna have a great day after looking at all this social media. So you click on one of the pictures and you notice that there are like all these top comments from all these blue tick accounts. So you click through to their profile, because you know, screw mental health, only to learn that they're more successful, more talented, and younger than you. And according to you, in that moment, they also have zero signs of struggle. Fuck.
Tonight, we meet a 16-year-old who's got more in common with venture capitalists than guidance counselors in algebra.
YouTube celebrity at just 11 years old.
Most influential teenagers put out by Time magazine.
Already locked down enough seed money that he dropped out of high school.
She was just 19 when recording 19.
At the age of 15, she developed a boutique skincare business.
Mendez only turned 21 in 2019.
Self-made millionaire.
Born in 2004.
Jack Bloomfield is 17 years old.
After 2 depressing hours of scrolling, you put your phone down and you look around your apartment at your very regular life. Instead of seeing millions of fans, you see a broken fan, actually. Yeah, shit, I gotta get that fixed. You see the bill that you haven't paid, and the fridge that's still leaking, and the shelves I gotta fix, the car reg I gotta pay, and the deadlines that just keep looming over me. And you might feel something energizing, you know, you might feel like, oh, one day this will all be better. I'll get my mansion, I'll get mine. But it's more likely that you'll just feel like you're behind in life. After a few hours on the devil apps, I tend to feel like everyone everywhere is getting ahead, just killing it and leaving me behind. And if I could just work perfectly for the next 3 years with 0 panic attacks, I could get there too, right? It is exhausting, but there's some good news. It's a trick. Crazy. You've probably heard of Dunbar's number, the theory that we can only maintain 150 meaningful relationships at any one time. The actual number itself is in contention, and obviously social media throws a spanner in the works, but one thing that most researchers can agree on is that the number is finite. Now this is quite important. So couple this with the fact that we are biologically hardwired to compare ourselves to other people. If you think back in ancient times and you're watching somebody's crops grow better than yours, you'll be like, damn, I should know what they're doing. That way I will be more fed. Thanks, neighbor. So combine these two facts and we can produce a third concept. Comparison slots. We have a finite amount of slots in our brain that we can put people in against who we can compare ourselves to. Whoever's filling these slots will change as we focus on different things. If we put all our attention on the 1% as we scroll through all these successful young people, yeah, of course we are gonna feel behind in life because our frame of reference is a bunch of ultra rich, successful, talented teenagers. And you know, I'm 30 and I've only just started taking my life seriously, so whoops. So looking at this concept, it's easy to think that the solution would be, oh, well, I'll just stare at a bunch of people who suck and fill my comparison slots with people who are doing worse than me, so I'll constantly feel better, right? I'll just look at Johnny who sold his foot for Kid Rock tickets. Unfortunately though, this is more or less the same habit, and it's only going to lead us to inevitable ugly feelings again. A slightly more stable solution would be to fill those comparison slots with people who inspire you and people who did blow up later in life. You know, people like Colonel Sanders who made KFC in his 60s. You've seen those memes, you know, the ones that are like, J.K. Rowling didn't write her first Harry Potter book until she was 412. So that means you don't have to try at all. Yeah. I think this is an okay solution, but I think underneath it all, it still reinforces 2 ideas. 1, that you have to blow up, and 2, that it is in some way dependent on your age. When we put pressure on these 2 variables, success and age, I think that's exactly when we start to feel behind in life. Because I think that's actually what the definition of feeling behind in life is, not having enough success by a certain age. So I think it's therefore important to break these 2 concepts down. And that's what we're gonna do with the next part of the video, starting with success. What is it, man? My sister is a counselor, so when she asks me how I'm going, I usually give her a pretty honest answer. And the other day she did ask me how I'm going, and I said, I feel good, but I feel like people won't love me unless I'm successful. I don't know, gotta be honest. And she said, how about you rephrase that as an I statement? And I'm all like, what do you mean? Because I'm the dumber one of the 2 of us. And she goes, how about you say, I won't love me if I'm not successful? And that's when it starts to kind of hurt and unpack a few things. Her theory is that for a lot of people who do feel behind in life, or for a lot of people who are chasing success in a traditional sense, we have this sense that we have to achieve things in order to be worthy of other people's love, but really we also have to achieve things in order to be worthy of our own love. And because we lack that self-love, we attribute that lack to the first thing that we can see and control, which is success. Therefore, get really successful so you can love yourself. Cool. And if you're not, you will feel that shitty feeling. That makes sense as a theory, I subscribe to it, but it does beg the question, what's the solution? Do I just love myself and let my drive for success die? This feels really good in theory and just really awful in practice. Personally, I think the solution comes in redefining success. And redefining it in a way that ultimately leads to self-love. This way you can have your cake and eat it too, which is a really weird expression. For me, success is having incredible relationships with people and making meaningful work. With that definition in place, it's time to discuss the second variable, timings. Something that I've only realized recently is that young success looks really cool on the surface, and any deeper than that, it looks like pure agony. I'm gonna tell you two stories about two people whom I've been a fan of at various points in my life. The first one I was only a fan for a very fleeting moment, and the second one I assume I'll be a fan of for a very, very long time. The first person is Lil Xan. I'm embarrassed that I was a fan, actually. Something about his attitude just appealed to me. I don't know what it was, but if you don't know, he was a rapper called Diego Llanos who blew up in 2018 with an album called Total Xanarchy. He would have been 20, 21 years old, and he was in that wave of face tattooed, leaned up rappers that was just so popular for 6 months. So this kid gets flown around the world, collaborates with all sorts of people, and people are even getting like face tattoo replicas of Lil Xan. He gets to this height where it's just so hard to ignore him, and he is basically a meme and ultra famous. But Lil Xan was just Lil. He was a kid, and sadly he didn't navigate fame and success too well. In one interview, he was asked about what he thought about Tupac, and he said,
"The boring music."
People were ready to hate him. He went from superstar to punchline, and between the hate, the drugs, and the pressure, his mental health declined.
I want to show y'all what mental illness really fucking looks like. I just did this to my car. Scratched it, keyed it up, I just bought it. I just bought this fucking car. Hit the fucking door. Wanna know why I'm doing that? Because of mental fucking illness. I'm owned. I'm a fucking slave. I'm a slave to my management. I'm a slave to everybody. I don't get control of my bank account. I don't get control of shit. I can't even drive that fucking car.
It's honestly heartbreaking to see all that potential and promise turn into something so painful. Now, he's 24, stuck with the same face tattoos, and focusing more on narcotics than music. So can we call Lil Xan successful? I mean, what good is money and fame if you feel like shit? And what about his future? What can we say for what's gonna happen next to Lil Xan? Does he have to live his life feeling like he peaked? I hope not, but probably. But the biggest question above all of this is, was his work, at the very least, meaningful? You tell me. Now let's compare that story of blowing up at 21 to the story of Brené Brown, who did a TED Talk in her 40s and blew up after that. Now she's in her 50s and at the peak of her career, and she's having a lot of longevity with it. And the reason that she is so relatable is because she is literally relatable. She spent most of her life living like all of us, living all normal like, man. She's gonna have a long career full of meaningful work, and I think that her work actually resonates more with people because she blew up late. In short, the timings of when you make something is irrelevant. Sure, you can catch a trend train, but you'll just go up and come down. What really matters is whether or not the work is meaningful. So instead of focusing on an arbitrary deadline like I need to make blank by here, otherwise blank, it makes a lot more sense to just focus on making something incredible. I always like to leave these things with a little bit of homework, something that you can journal on. The first question you can journal on is, how do you define success? The second question is, how could deferred success serve me in the long run? And the third question is, how is feeling behind in life the best thing that has ever happened to me? Ultimately, social media is not on your side, and while we love success stories, we connect so much more through failures. Being relatable is the thing that creates meaningful work. Resonating with other people, that's the whole goal here. And all these shitty things that you're wrestling with make you so much more valuable as a human, as somebody who can give empathy, and as an artist or as somebody who creates something. It's all on your side. I know it might not seem like it in certain moments, particularly when we're scrolling in the phone and we see all that stuff that like yells at us, but it's the struggle that unites us, the struggle that creates the most meaningful work, and the struggle that creates the most meaningful relationships. And I think all that meaning and overcoming all those struggles are the things that create self-love. So, full circle. Anyway, I'm gonna get off my soapbox now, and I'm gonna leave you with this final tweet from Wesley Snipes.
Hang on, is your name Wesley Snipes? That is insane.
It's insane that the actor Wesley Snipes has that name. If you saw a picture of him and a picture of me, and you were asked who should be named Wesley Snipes, you'd pick the pale Englishman every time, Les.
Not that Wesley Snipes, this Wesley Snipes. Don't let the internet rush you. No one is posting their failures. Thank you so much for watching. I hope you feel a little bit better, and I hope you can start to reframe your brain. Good luck with the journaling. Subscribe if you're new. I make videos like this every week if this is the first one you've seen. Let me know what you liked in the comments, and let me know what other topics you want to see me cover. Alrighty, have a gorgeous day. Catch ya.